Good day everybody, this is Nimrod from the Audio Couple, and welcome to our impression session today. So yes, today I'd like to share with you my impressions of the JBL Array 800 loudspeaker. This specific loudspeaker is actually a bookshelf loudspeaker with a bass reflex port, and it's a three-way design with a 200mm or 8-inch woofer. This woofer is basically a pure pulp woofer coated with a Accu Plus proprietary damping material on the woofer. Then we move up to the mid-range driver. This driver, the mid-range driver, is actually a compression driver coupled to a vertical horn, and this specific compression driver is actually a 44mm compression driver. Then finally we have a horizontally orientated super tweeter, and this super tweeter is also a compression driver, and this driver is actually a 1-inch or 25mm compression drive unit. Then this is of course a passive loudspeaker, but you can also buy wire or buy amp the loudspeaker. And then finally it's actually in this very nice what they call black gloss finish, which is, I must say, it's quite attractive. And we'll also share a couple of pictures of the actual enclosure of the loudspeaker. Then what can I add? It's basically back ported, so it's got a port at the back. And then I would say this is rather more of a bookshelf loudspeaker than a floor stander. Of course, this is the entry level Array loudspeaker. You actually get the Array 1000. This loudspeaker is very similar. It's got the same horn and the same super tweeter, but it's actually got a bigger bass driver. It's actually a 10-inch bass driver, but the same type of cone material with a similar cone makeup. So that is the pure pulp woofer coated with the Accu Plus proprietary material to damp the woofer, and then that one has also got the similar mid-range and high frequency unit. And then you also get the Array 1400, which has got actually a 14-inch woofer, and then a very similar setup, except that it's a floor stander loudspeaker. Then you actually get the Array 1500 subwoofer, which complements these loudspeakers, typically in a home cinema setup. And then finally you actually get the Array 880 center channel, which also complements the surround setup. A little bit more about the specifications. It's actually 18 kgs in total weight, this loudspeaker. It can handle 200 watt RMS, and then it is basically a 8 ohm design. Yeah, then the loudspeaker is 88 dB, 1 meter, 1 watt sensitive, a little bit lower than what one would expect from a compression driver design, but still very manageable for most loudspeakers. Yeah, so then the actual frequency response of the speaker is around 55 Hz all the way to 40 kHz, and of course that's thankful to the super tweeter that is incorporated into the horn. So then a little bit more about the actual dimensions of the loudspeakers. It's close to around 750 millimeters high, it's 270 millimeters wide, yeah, and then close to 355 millimeters deep. Yeah, and then welcome Teresa. Yeah. So I'm glad Teresa has joined us. Yeah, so I think everybody's maybe more interested in the actual sonic performance of the loudspeaker, and as always, myself and Teresa enjoyed listening to these loudspeakers. What struck me right from the start was actually the very flat frequency response that they have, or the actual neutrality of this mid-range driver. And I think these loudspeakers or this mid-range driver is actually quite excellent. It's been a while since I heard quite such a good mid-range driver. Even if it's a compression driver, it's just got very natural and very extended mid-range, and it projects into the room quite well, very well actually, and it's integrated very well towards the low frequency driver, and of course the high frequency, the ultra high frequency tweeter, if we can say that. But yes, the overall integration of the loudspeaker is excellent. You know, you can't falter anything. There's nothing missing in the sound. It projects well into the room. Of course, I used it only in the home or surround sound system, and mainly we listen to a lot of music, and it reproduces music with a very lifelike and realistic qualities. You know, especially if you play it a bit louder, the loudspeaker never tends to get, you know, that the sound get mushy or anything like that. It stays very focused, and it actually just contributes towards that excitement of a typical live performance. But then we also actually, you know, had a look at a few movies, especially some action movies. One of the movies that we watched was actually Terminator Salvation, and these loudspeakers actually draw you into the movie. That's all that I can say. They are, you know, excellent, and you get that cinema-like experience from the sound. You know, it's quite good, but equally well in music. Actually, I prefer them actually a bit more in music because they bring this lifelike or realistic concert feeling to the music, and better than most, I must say. And maybe I can also share it with you guys, that I think this is a best kept secret, these JBL speakers, and especially if they deploy such a huge mid-range, let's say compression mid-range driver. So this mid-range driver is around 44 millimeters, which is, you know, quite big for a mid-range driver in a compression type design. And I think that is magical, and even that it's actually in this vertical orientated horn-loaded design. The reason why JBL actually chose this type of design is because they actually say that there's no other cabinet reflections next to the horn, and that they say apparently, you know, a big market for JBL regarding horn-loaded loudspeakers is actually the Japanese market, but the Japanese market is very critical when it comes to aesthetics, and they prefer the horn to be a bit more horizontal. But this time around, you know, they didn't really design this loudspeaker more for the Japanese market, but more for the international market, and they decided that, look, from the benefits from the vertical orientated horn, the sound improvements, that they actually went for this type of design. And for me, in the beginning, it looks a bit, you know, let's call it more different, but after a while you actually get used to it, and I must say there's definitely sonic benefits to it. These loudspeakers actually image very well. You know, I've spoken before about loudspeakers that image, but these ones, it's just in a class of their own. Coupled to this extremely dynamic and neutral and natural sounding compression mid-range driver. That's really an excellent driver in my opinion. And then what was actually quite nice, we also had a SAM 3HA center channel, was a JBL SAM 3HA center channel together with these loudspeakers. And what was good about this center channel is it actually deploys the exact same mid-range driver and let's call it ultra high frequency driver than this loudspeaker, and they match exceptionally well with these loudspeakers. Of course, the actual center channel for these loudspeakers are actually the 880 array, but at the time that I wanted to audition these loudspeakers, they weren't available. But I think that the SAM definitely a worthy, let's call it replacement. Integrated well, and of course they should integrate well because they use the same mid-range and high frequency driver, and you can actually hear that you know, the magic around the center and these loudspeakers are definitely this mid-range driver, in my opinion. Yeah, so it's an excellent loudspeaker, guys. Yeah, and it's also for me it was like you know, discovering a secret. I never knew that you could actually get this type of fidelity from compression drivers. You know, I know you use it for outdoor typical events, or they deployed in very big cinemas, that type of thing, and the reason behind is because they project the sound that well, you know. But in an hi-fi application, I think this loudspeaker has really changed my opinion regarding compression drivers. I was in the opinion that you typically use a compression driver really for your as a tweeter, you know, for your real high frequencies. I would say from about 2 kilohertz up. This one, of course, crossovers at around 900 hertz, which is quite low. And then, you know, but the performance from that, even from 900 hertz, is really something to behold. And if you get the opportunity to audition these loudspeakers, or I would even say if you have the opportunity to buy these loudspeakers, buy them, because there's few few loudspeakers that can match the mid-range capability and overall sound quality that these loudspeakers produce, especially regarding dynamics. And I've said it so many times that I'm quite a guy that enjoy dynamics, and I think Teresa also came to realize that what is dynamics. And dynamics is really that when a guy hits a drum, you feel that drum and you experience it. It's not just that you hear it. It's more than that. It's the total sound, and then that immediate energy that drums or instruments produce, and these loudspeakers recreate that, and in the comfort of your own home, and that is not a lot of loudspeakers that can do that. And maybe I sound like a broken record. I've said it numerous times, but I think I was lucky to audition a lot of loudspeakers that's very dynamic and very the overall sound impression is quite good, and these ones are. So I would say if I have to rate these loudspeakers, and look, this was not a review, it's more an impression, but if I rate this mid-range, I will give it very close to a 10. I mean, it's phenomenal, and it's something to do with the actual overall design. Of course, the crossover, I think JBL spent a lot of time to perfect this crossover, and if you have time to go and view a few reviews, Stereophile actually reviewed the 1400 arrays, and just go and see for yourself how flat that frequency response is, from around 900 Hertz all the way up. And that's because of this type of horn design that they have, and then of course the good driver that they use, and then this is of course is a passive crossover for the 1400 array. They spent, I can tell you now, I think they spent a lot of time in perfecting that crossover, to have the matching between the different units, and then to get that frequency response that flat. And it's typically in your home environment as well, and you can hear it when you listen to these loudspeakers. Very neutral, but very open, mid-range, very dynamic, to such a degree that you say, yes, I just want to listen to it one more time. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, guys, no, we just can say we enjoy a loudspeaker like this. They are dynamic, and etc. And then it's the actual all the way the aesthetics of the loudspeaker is also quite good. I'll definitely share with you a couple of pictures, and you'll notice the actual the black gloss finish that it has. Of course, it looks more like a wooden type grain gloss finish that it has, but overall it's quite pleasing. And then also the proprietary materials that JBL has used in this design. And I must say, I think that after listening to these loudspeakers, I think that the brand JBL was really have drawn me into their brand, because everything about this loudspeaker is just top notch. From the cabinet, the actual binding posts, the overall design, the sound, the look and feel. So just this company JBL has been in business for many years. JB Lensing was the guy that started it, and even my dad had good things to say about JBL loudspeakers, and I think in his years they were actually called JB Lansing, and this guy actually assisted with a lot of other groundbreaking designs in the loudspeaker arena, but a lot of respect for these guys. They've been building loudspeakers for quite some while, and even in the pro market they're still very highly regarded, if not one of the best. But you can hear it from these loudspeakers. These guys know what they're doing, and it's a lot of engineering that goes into these loudspeakers. But that's it. I can actually ramble on about these type of things because I've got so much passion for it, guys. And slowly but surely this spills over to Teresa, and I must say, sometimes I just give her the nod, and she'll give me the nod and say, no, these loudspeakers, they do it for us. But anyway, guys, yeah, thanks. Thanks again for making time to look at our videos. If you like our videos, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of our videos, please subscribe. And if you want, hit the bell, and you'll also get some notifications. But that's us then, guys. This is Nimrod and Teresa signing off for the audio couple. Cheers.